Today, I'm going to be spending over 30 million Mora to build every single Inazuman character that I own. Inazuma as a region is widely regarded as Genshin's biggest wasted potential, whether it be because of the rushed story or seemingly forgotten characters. In spite of that, many people, myself included, have a soft spot in their hearts for Inazuma, and today I'm going to show you just how soft I can be. Of the 12 Inazuman characters that I own, 11 of them need upgrades in some form or other, the only exception being Raiden because she's my favorite. For each character, I'm going to be upgrading all 3 of their talents to level 9 and their weapons to level 90, irregardless of their strength or role on a team. I did the same thing for all the Mondstadt and Liyue characters in my previous videos, but this time I'm going to go even further beyond. Rather than just upgrading talents and weapons then testing the damage increase, today I'm also going to be giving all my unbuilt characters a full set of plus 20 artifacts. As you might expect, this project's going to take a little while, so let's not waste any time and get started by taking a look at exactly what each character needs for the video. Here on this sheet you can see which characters need weapons, which characters need talents, and anybody who's highlighted are the characters who need artifact upgrades as well. And just like the Liyue video, I'll be testing characters' damage before they're built and after they're built, so if you want to know who was worth it and who was a waste of money, there'll be a section at the end of the video just for that. So now that you know exactly what we're going to be doing today, let's head into the Wonderland to use this sick DPS test dummy I found earlier. So I have found a new DPS test dummy that unfortunately isn't as good as the one that I had wanted before, but it's gonna have to do. Every test in this video is gonna be on a level 100 rune guard with 0 resistances, and depending on which character, I'm either gonna put their crit rate at 100 or 0. During the Liyue video, when I was trying to track characters' damage increase, it was really annoying because in some tests, half of their damage would crit and half the other wouldn't crit, and this forced me to redo a bunch of tests, and I'm way too lazy to do that right now, so instead I'm just going to eliminate the RNG completely. This does mean some characters are gonna look a little bit more impressive than they should because of the 100% crit rate, but you know, whatever, deal with it. We're gonna do her attack string, then we're gonna do her ice attack string. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there you go. Throw out her ultimate, and there you go. Beautiful. As you can see on this nifty little character card that I yoinked from HoyoLab, Ayaka only needs her talents upgraded and only 1 level each. So a quick 1.35 million more later and she was ready for her final test. And then so like a 500/1000 damage increase, basically. So here's what Ayaka looked like before and what she looks like after. And for those of you who care, this is what Ayaka's damage increase looked like. Feel free to pause if you really want to pour over the numbers, but for those of you who have me on a second monitor right now, I'll save you the time and just tell you her total damage increase was 19,889. When I started the recording, I was only going to test a character for what I use them for. So Ayaka was being tested for damage, or Sara was only going to be tested for buffing. So with Kuki, I only wanted to test her Hyper Bloom, but I forgot that Hyper Bloom is actually only affected by stuff that she wasn't going to get upgraded. Unfortunately, I didn't realize this until after I had already upgraded her, so all you really get to see is how much damage and healing her skill gained, so I'm sorry about that. And then got 27k on the Hyper Bloom and 1978 on the crit. Kuki's talents are very low, but her weapon and her artifacts are already maxed out, so all we're going to be doing with Kuki is taking these talents up. So let's get started. Let's make a bloom. And then, like I said, Hyper Bloom is not affected by talent levels at all, so Kuki's damage increase maxed out at a lovely 735 damage. Her skill went from level 4 to level 9, and it got me a total of 735 damage. I spent 897,500 Mora on just her skill for 735 damage. So if you've ever wondered if it's worth leveling your Hyper Bloom Kuki's skill for that extra little bit of damage, it's not, because because you'll get about 735 more damage. Sara's mainly a buffing character, so what we're going to be doing, testing Raiden with Sara. On that same note, Raiden isn't actually going to get upgraded at all. Her weapon's 90, she's 999, one of my only characters is actually 999. All her artifacts are upgraded and her weapon's upgraded, so we're actually not going to do that. I'm just not going to do it. Okay, that's the damage there. Charge attack, 1480. Her skill, 937, and then ultimate. That's not a bad ultimate. For this, what we're going to do is I'm going to skill, charge attack, then ult, then Raiden ult. We're not going to use Raiden skill at all. We got skill, charge attack, ult, and then ult. 774,000. Sara is a character that's focused on her damage, so like Ayaka, I gave her maxed out crit rate for her tests. Earlier in the recording, I had already tested Sara, but only to check Raiden's damage increase. But halfway through, I decided I wanted to change things up. Initially, I was going to test every character at their baseline, then after each upgrade, then their final build, but that is a lot of work that honestly I just didn't want to do. So instead, I decided to only do a before test and an after test for each character, and also that I was going to test all their damage. So yeah, I decided to change my formula, which just made life so much harder while editing. I love doing that to myself. I'll come... and then base ultimate. It's actually like a pretty good increase right there. So skill. Okay, 2k, and then ultimate. Oh, damn. Okay. We're just doing each charge attack, ults, and then boom. 90k on the Raiden ult. Honestly, Sara's damage increase surprised me. 41,514 extra damage is not bad, especially considering I only managed to give her about 10 crit damage. And yes, in reality, my 50 crit rate Sara won't be hitting this max damage threshold consistently, but overall, I'm really happy with what I saw. And for the first time in this video, it feels like my Mora did not go to waste. Next up is Ayato. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finally, his ultimate. 3,800. Okay, I don't think that changes at all. So there you go. Now we got the skill. I used to use Ayato a lot as my overworld comfort character, so I was pretty convinced that maxing him out would be a waste of time. If you didn't already know, Ayato's normal attack talent doesn't change his water blade damage at all. And seeing as I was only upgrading his skill 1 level, I didn't think the damage would be that high. Turns out I was wrong, because taking his skill from level 8 to 9 increased his skill's damage by 10,162. That's a really good increase, although as a caveat, that is the combined damage of his 15 total attacks, so it's less impressive than it sounds, but it's still not that bad. But what we're going to do with Kokomi is I'm going to test her damage out, but mainly what we're going to be paying attention to, her healing. 1, 2, 3, and then boop. Then we will do skill. So about 6,300 on the heals, 10k on the proc, and ult. So we got 1, 2, 3, then whoop. So that is Kokomi. I actually thought that was going to be a bit more annoying. Kokomi was one of 3 characters that I was actually really excited to max out when I started the project. I've used her as a driver before and I really like her in that role, so I was hoping for some impressive number changes. Unfortunately for me though, Kokomi might have been the biggest waste of resources in the whole video. Not only did she only gain 9,446 damage, but she only gained 737 total healing. While I was editing, I looked at that number and it was just crazy to me. It just floored me to see how low it is. I even went back to see if I could even hit the Ocean Hued Clam set maximum damage proc of 30,000, and I couldn't. The highest I could get was 24,215. I don't actually know what her highest damage cap was before I upgraded her, but I know that this just isn't super great. Ultimately, her strength didn't really increase all that much, so the 2.4 million more I spent on her was pretty much wasted. Next up, we have Heizou. We do need one character outside of him because I want to test what his swirl can do. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then tap for 5,500. 2, 3, 4 for 1,300. Just a base ult. That was kind of boring. All we're testing with his swirl is actually his ultimate, so there you go. That's his swirl. It's just his last one. Bad piece? Okay, it's a bad piece. Never mind. This weapon's not good on him. Oh yeah, I know this weapon is butt cheeks. There we go. Just gotta get his skill upgraded. I don't care about not very interesting to if I'm speaking somebody who used in a team. Next up, we got his holdy. Actually, I was supposed to do his tappy. 43k. Okay, and then tappy. Tappy kind of hurt. Then we're gonna do his base ultimate, which is 20k, and then I want to see what his ultimate does with an electro swirl. Okay, so that extra swirl wasn't very much damage. Honestly, it wasn't worth paying attention to. Heizou, Gorou, and Sayu were the three characters that I was least excited to max out in this video. They're three characters I have absolutely no intention of ever using outside of maybe the theater. I also vividly remember one time on stream I was insulting Heizou's DPS capabilities, and then somebody who was a Heizou main started defending him, and I insulted them for using Heizou as their main DPS. I'm gonna have to eat my words and apologize to whoever that was, because Heizou was the biggest glow up of the entire video. He had a damage increase of 64,945, and that's taking into account that I forgot to record the last auto attack in his normal string, and I didn't even touch his charge attack because I just forgot about it. His damage increase probably should have been closer to about 70,000 because of those two things that I missed. I spent almost 4 million Mora on Heizou, and it was definitely worth every single penny. His build also ended up being pretty damn good for a 4-star character that doesn't ascend with crit rate and also doesn't have a crit rate weapon. Now, I still don't particularly like Heizou, but I might end up messing around with him now that I've seen just what he's capable of. Next up, we got Kirara. I ended up testing Kirara with crit enabled because I thought that her artifacts were better. In hindsight, this was a huge mistake because her crit line is literally 23 to 102. Realistically, she's never ever gonna crit ever. Her damage increase looked okay, but the numbers were inflated because of that 100 crit damage that I was giving her, so it's really hard to gauge what her strength actually is. Also, for both Kirara and Thoma, I didn't end up testing their shield strength because honestly, I didn't know a good way to do it, and I still don't. If you have any ideas for future regions how to test a character's shield strength, be sure to let me know because I still have no idea how to test it well. It feels like a little bit of wasted potential not testing their strength before and after, but then again, I don't actually care, so cry about it. Boop. And then 1, 2. Thoma ended up being the opposite of Kirara because I tested him without crit and then his artifacts rolled mostly into crit. So basically all those artifact rolls he had were useless. You can build Thoma either as a pure HP shield bot or a kind of invested support DPS with crit or as a burgeon driver DPS kind of character. And in hindsight, I should have tested his crit build, but I didn't think his artifacts would roll that way. So because I made it so he couldn't crit, his damage increase was absolutely pitiful. But in the future, I do want to switch Thoma to sort of like a burgeon DPS build, so the artifacts don't really matter right now anyways. 1, 2, 3, her skill. And then skill 2, we'll do 7200. Skill 3s, we'll do 9100. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I actually didn't know that the damage was the same, so good to know. I wasn't actually going to upgrade any of Miko's artifacts, but then I found a piece that I liked and it rolled pretty well. I'm content with how Miko turned out, I just do wish her stats were a bit better. Her crit line is okay if she was on a 4-piece Golden Troop set, but as she's on a 2-piece, I really wanted her stats to be higher. I didn't really expect her damage increase to be that high from just a weapon, 1 artifact, and a skills increase, and it really wasn't a huge increase. It was a pretty decent damage increase, but nothing too special. The biggest takeaway I had with Miko during this video is actually that her ultimate hits 3 times. I always thought it capped out at 2 hits because the second and third Thunderbolt strike hit so quick they kind of overlap, and I'm just really not observant at all. I've had Miko for about 3 or 4 years now, and I'm just now noticing her skills hitting 4 times, which is just super embarrassing. Attacks. Boop. And ba. And ba. I really dislike Gorou for a lot of reasons. Mostly I don't like him because of his design, but also because I have no way to use him. Outside of Gorou, I only own 6 Geo characters and none of them really synergize with each other at all. Gorou needs to be in a team of 3 Geo characters, but Navia is the only Geo DPS I have and she really wants 2 non-Geo characters for her talents. The best team I could put him on to make use of his strengths would be Navia, Columbina, and Zhongli as like this budget lunar crystallized team, but I feel like that ends up just kind of kneecapping Navia more than helping Gorou out. Gorou was one of the more expensive characters I built, needing almost 5 million Mora, and it just kind of felt like it was completely wasted Mora since I'm really just not going to be able to use him. 1, 2, 3, 4. Skill damage. For ultimate. Similarly to Thoma, Sayu just ended up with one of the most terrible builds of all times. I saw a bunch of leftover pieces that had double crit, threw them on her, and she ended up doing basically nothing. In the end, I didn't even test Sayu with crit enabled, so really, I was just wasting Mora and XP leveling up the artifacts I had on her. I also realized while editing that her EM did not increase by a single point, and yet I'm still running her on a VV set. Full transparency, although you might have been able to figure it out already, I didn't really know anything about Sayu prior to recording. So she's not really high on my list of priorities, but now that I know more of how she works, whenever I get around to fixing Sayu, my goal is to just drop the crazy idea of putting crit on everything and just give her a basic set of HP and EM pieces so she can swirl better and heal, and that's basically it. With Inazuma now finished, I only have 23 characters left. Yeah, I know Snezhnaya is coming in the very close future, but also the future doesn't exist, so who cares? I have now maxed out the talents and weapons of 47 different characters, meaning I'm well over halfway finished with my project. Sumeru, Fontaine, Natlan, and Nagakrai are all much smaller regions than the 3 I've already finished, so there's a possibility I can actually finish this project this year. But anyways, as promised, here's a tier list of which characters I thought were actually worth the investment. I'm sure it comes to no surprise, but Heizou was the most worthwhile investment of the project. DPS characters are almost always worth the high investment. Sara was the second most worthwhile character in the video as she nearly doubled her personal damage and also gave about an extra 12k damage to Raiden. In B tier, we have Ayaka and Miko, and while both these characters gained respectable damage increases of about 15,000, the Mora cost to get them there wasn't really worth the extra squeeze to put them into A tier. In C tier, we have Ayaka, and while Ayaka did gain about 20,000 damage, that came from adding up every single tick of her ultimate. In actuality, a single tick of her ultimate didn't gain as much damage. Next up in D tier, we have Kirara. And admittedly, without being able to test her shield strength, I think she looks a little bit more useless than she actually is, and the same goes for Thoma. But Kirara did narrowly beat out the rest of the roster and make it to D tier because her damage increase was at a respectable 18,000. In F tier, we have the characters that were straight up a waste of Mora. Sayu was by far the best of the worst, as not only did she gain about 8k healing, she also gained about 10k damage. After her comes Kokomi, who like I said was the biggest letdown of the video. She gained about 10k damage, which isn't bad, but somehow, I still don't know how, she only gained 737 total healing, which, I don't know, I'm still just absolutely shocked by that. After the healers is Gorou, who might actually deserve to be in D tier, but I didn't really want to remake this tier list a third time, so he's just staying where he is. He had a respectable damage increase of nearly 20,000, but that wasn't a full Geo team for his maximum buffs, and that's also considering the fact that every single thing he had was level 1 beforehand. He's staying in F tier because honestly I just can't really use him. And finally, the biggest waste of Mora for this video was the lovely Kuki Shinobu. Yes, her total damage increase would be higher if I had tested her auto attacks and her ultimate, but those honestly never matter because she's in Hyper Bloom anyway, so just basically a bunch of wasted resources. For talent books, I ended up using 214 elegance, 254 transients, and 178 light philosophy books, along with 76 elegance, 289 transients, and 126 light guidebooks. I also used 6 elegance, 27 transients, and 18 light teaching books. I started farming for Inazuma on October 20th, 2025, and finished on February 6th, 2026. That's a total of 109 days between the start and end of farming, although I didn't farm talent books every day. Over that time, I ended up doing 185 domain runs, spending 7,520 resin, and gaining 1,366,875 Mora. In total, I spent 90 minutes and 16 seconds actually in the domain, with an average runtime of 29 seconds. During those domain runs, I had an average drop rate of 0.55 philosophies, 4.16 teachings, and 4.74 guidebooks per run. In total for this project, I spent 35,416,980 Mora. And since finishing Leeway, I've collected 218 total Blossoms of Wealth. Those Blossoms of Wealth cost me 4,360 resin and netted me an additional 13,298,000 Mora. I spent 3,385 XP enhancement ores this video, and if you care, here's a screenshot of my weekly boss drops before and after. But honestly, I'm too lazy to say all of them. If you're super impatient just like me and want to see more videos like this, consider watching the other videos in the series. There'll be a link in the description to the playlist. If you made it this far into the video, I'm gonna assume you really enjoyed it. So all that I ask is that you let me know if you liked how this video was edited, or if you thought that it was better than those other videos I mentioned. Anyways, that's about it. About 4 months of work, all done. There's nothing left for me to say except thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.
That won't ever change. Yeah, sometimes I'm mad, sometimes I'm okay. Yeah, I know I'll have what I want someday. I need my space now so I can feel nothing.